Telling the truth, there's less to remember. All you need to remember the truth. But in telling lies, you have to remember what you should forget. But for telling the truth, as hard as it may be, it's essential. But it can be costly. You probably know that. When you're concerned as with a family member or a co-worker, perhaps someone with addictions or an issue that is driving other relationships into pain. Family members want to intervene, but we don't expect gratitude. I had the experience the other day working on some electrical. My little 1.5-year-old, there was still some plug-ins to put in. They were wrapped. They should not have conducted electricity, but you know how it is when you touch a box and once it goes tape, you still get that spark. So we were scared. My 1.5-year-old just wanted to touch it. Would have put it in her mouth if she could have, but there we go. But in grabbing her hand, she didn't say, "Thank you." You're really wise. There's a big tear out. And often that is the case. When you try to help those people we love, there's another response, not of gratitude, but an attitude of you should have done something different. Couldn't you have intervened quietly or gently or some way? Or do I even need intervention? When you point out hurtful behavior and attitudes that are not healthy and whole, don't expect a smile. Expect rather confusion, pain, and your need for patience. And of course, appropriateness. So how do we tell the truth in life and still want to survive or live in healthiness? This text of Matthew 18, a classic where Jesus called his followers, you and I, to tell the truth, and that may mean confrontation. Is there a safe and a sane way to tell the truth that can restore and protect and provide nurture in relationships? And of course, to tell the truth means we must be honest with ourselves. It means being honest to the point that we can acknowledge that perhaps we too have been wronged and that we wrong others. When we are not honest, we are playing games where all the players have different rules and everyone loses, no one wins. Honesty is that mortar that keeps the foundation of a relationship intact. When we are not honest, trust is sacrificed. We see that in business relationships, family relationships, in marriage relationships. If there's been an affair, profoundly dishonest, trust is sacrificed, and relationship breaks down. And so it takes an enormous amount of courage and forgiveness and grace to even begin to rebuild a relationship back to a point where trust could be regained and relationship rebuilt. In our relationships with family and friends and co-workers and loved ones, this journey toward healing comes when we put our reality, our honesty into words with the one who has wronged us. Seeking revenge is never the issue, never healthy. Telling the truth then means being honest, even at a cost. You may know the old story about the man, he's at the gates, St. Peter, heaven's gates, the old image. St. Peter stopped him as he waltzed into heaven, thinking he was an average Lutheran and could get in by grace alone, don't you know, you see. Peter says, yes, wait a minute. You can't just waltz in here right into heaven anymore. You can't get in just for being good, you see. You've got to do something truly great. Have you done something truly great in your life? St. Peter asked the man. The man thought for a minute. He said, well, actually, I was downtown just doing a quick stop, and I saw a group of very unpleasant people happen to be on motorcycles, giving a very bad time to a very timid elderly woman who was a motorist. So I got out of my car and I kicked over the biker, lead biker, I kicked over his bike, I spat on it, and told him to take off. Wow, said St. Peter, that's very good. And when did you do that, St. Peter asked the man. The man looked at his watch and said, about a minute ago. Telling the truth. Being honest, even if it is a cost, you see. But of course there's appropriateness, and I still have my 1A license. Bikers, we love you, you do a great job, it's not meant to be stereotypical. But there is honesty and appropriateness and foolishness when honesty is taken to a place where it's inappropriate. May we find ways to be appropriate, which may sometimes mean we need to be silent. My mom used to love the word, if you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all. Ooh, we had some quiet meals for a while. But she always found a way to break the ice and allow truth to emerge. Also, truth-telling means being open to ourselves. In all the relationships such as we experience being hurt, we are called to be open to the responsibility of the times we hurt each other. Unexplainably, the people that sit next to us are closest to the elbows. Why is it that we hurt the people closest to us? Things we say, decisions we make, actions we take or fail to take, things we overlook, eventually wind up hurting someone else. There's an old story of a teacher who was about to pass out an open book on trigonometry. Did I take that right? Oh, trigonometry. Must be an old. Oh, thank you, Lorraine. You know what that is. Okay, it's calculus. You young guys know all about that, yes. In passing out the test, the teacher declared, I'm giving you 2 tests today. One is in trade, the other in honesty. It's an open book. I'm going to leave the room. I've got another commitment. You have your books. I've given the formulas. Be honest with yourself. Do all that you can. I hope you pass both tests. But if you pass only one, the wise teacher said, be sure you pass the test of honesty. Because there's no good people who are not honest. Living in relationships where truth is foundational means being open to the possibility that we may be wrong and we may have wronged others. We may be the ones to whom another will have to come to and confront with the truth of our own behavior that we haven't understood or realized before. Being open as well as honest means admitting that the universe does not revolve around us and that sharing in this planet with others means that we have potential for hurting others. Many of you know the old phrase, when you point a finger of accusation, there's 3 pointing back at you. Being open may have to acknowledge the consequence that we take that into consideration. It was a Saturday night in a small town. A group of young men had too much to drink. One of the young men had taken hold of a stop sign and began to rock it back and forth. And we get them rocking. I guess they rock pretty good. But he could rock it and he loosened the post until finally he was able to bring the whole sign down. Watching from my car, I knew I had a choice to not do anything. Or perhaps call the police. Not wanting to take any chances on my safety, I called the police. Reported what I'd seen. At the end of the report, the officer asked me for my name, and I instinctively gave it to him. But as soon as I hung up the phone, I considered, that's not a police file. Would it be in a newspaper? Might carry my report, my name along with it. I've got family, retaliation, I didn't want to be there. So I called the police back and asked, does my name have to be included in this? I feared that telling the truth might mean some type of retaliation. Being honest can be a huge price. Jesus was willing to speak with honesty and openness. It cost him his life. What are we willing to pay for honesty in our relationships? Being open says, yes, I have been wronged, and for what of that am I responsible as well? The goal of confrontation is not just truth-making, but redemption, wholeness in relationships, restoration, salvation, if you will. Being open allows that to happen. And I would pray that our relationships in our life, filled with tension as they are, is given the grace of God to know that we as sinners can approach one another with the same grace by which we are welcomed to the throne, the cross of Christ. And considering our responsibility in that tension, we have the privilege and the grace to go forward, relationally and appropriately. Relational tension is rarely one-sided. Can you be open to your responsibility for a healthy relationship? In Christ, that's our call. Will we do it perfectly as a community, as individuals? No. But the ongoing 70 times 7 of new chances is our privilege. And lastly, telling the truth is always grace-filled. In every relationship, grace is at the heart of how we live. It is the perspective from the cross that sees everything on this ground level where we are equal in the eyes of Christ. Grace is a perspective from Christ. Grace is what takes you to the person who has wronged you and tries to work out the details, all of those details, for the sake of the relationship. Retribution is never the issue. That's destructive. But cross-framed grace sets us free to open our arms, open ourselves. Living in grace means knowing that just as we've been wronged, so we've wronged others.